To get the mean, add them all together. What number did you get when you added them all together? You got 95, did you? Anybody else get 95? Okay, how many numbers is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 95 divided by 7? What? Yeah, 13.6 for the average. There you go, easy marks. Here you go. Here's an easy start. There's your marks, right? What? What page is this on? Page 226. Okay, let's move down. Find the median, right? Median's a bit more difficult. Have to arrange them in order of size. How do we arrange them in order of size? Start off with 2 8s, is it? What comes after that? 9. What comes after that? 11, is it? 14, 17, and 28. Question I'm going to ask you is it odd or even, the amount of people we have? Odd. Odd means a middle person, a middle one. Even would be a middle 2. So it's a middle 1 when it's odd, and it's a middle 2 when it's even. So we have a middle 1 person in the middle. Is that okay? Who's in the middle? Huh? 11's in the middle. Oh, that is the wrong choice in highlighter. 11's in the middle. Easy money, right? So median is 11. If that was a larger number, like 30 or 40 people, what you generally do is you get the number and you divide it by 2, and it says 3.5, and you round up to 4th person in the list. Is that okay? 4th person. All right, let's keep going. One more number was added to the list. How many people do we have now? If there was 7 and we add one more on, there's 8 people now. Okay? And the new median is 10.5. Now, question. Did the median get bigger or smaller? Did the median get bigger or smaller compared to the last answer? Smaller. Right? Now, would you agree that it had to affect the middle? Has to go in here somewhere. Why does it have to go in here? Has to make it smaller. Let's toy around with some numbers. What happens if I put a 9 in here? Are they the middle too? What's 9 plus 11? And what's 20 divided by 2? No, it's not 10. It's meant to be 10.5. Go again. Don't use 9. Use another number. What other number could you try out? Huh? Yeah, 10 would be a good choice. Whatever number you try out has to be smaller than 11. So what's 10 plus 11? 21 divided by 2? Ah, perfect. So you just say 10 was added. Is that okay? All good? Right, let's move on. Okay. Right. All right, this one here, right? They give you a bunch of, there's a bunch of students, all right, and we got to construct ourselves a pie chart. How many students was there in total? You're going to help me out, Luke, because you've had some of this done. What happens when you add them all together? Is it? Okay. Yeah, 72. Everybody happy with 72? Okay, now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, what page is this on? 228. Okay, now, 8 out of 72 is the distinction. Everybody agreed with that? 12 out of 72 is what? The higher merit. 39 out of 72 is what, guys? The merit. And 13 out of 72 is the achieved. Now, what do I have to do to each fraction to turn it into an angle? And we have an idea? Yeah, because 100% is 360 degrees. Our full marks is 360 degrees. So any fraction you get, multiply by 360. And that should tell us what angle we need to use for each one. Is that all right? So do you have this done already, Luke? All right, go on, give me the answer, so. 40 degrees, yeah. 60 degrees, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, he already has it done. So he's literally just doing this 12 over 72 multiplied by 360. And he said that was 60 degrees, which it is. So we are putting it all into our calculator. Good question. Okay, let's keep going. What you got here? 65. And the last one. So does everybody see the way I have all the degrees now I need? So distinction is 40 degrees. Higher merit is 60. Merit is 195. And achieved is 65. Is that all right? Now I have all the angles I need. Now I'm just going to go down here and do the business, all right? So distinction 40 degrees. You already drew that in, didn't they? So I'm going to go for higher merit at 60 degrees. You're going to take out what's called your protractor. You're going to whip this down here, right? And then you're just going to draw a line. So I've already drawn 40 degrees, haven't I? So what's another 60 degrees added onto that? Well, that take me up to, it'll take me up to the 100 mark. And there you go there. So that one there is, that's 60 degrees. And what's 60 degrees labeled as again? The higher merit. Make sure you draw in the label as well. All right, I'm going to go upside down, like so. And I'm going to put it once again dead center. Okay, and what angle do we need to do next, Luke? Is it 65 or 195? I'm lazy, so I'm going to do 65. Okay, 65 is easier. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 65. There you go there. So what's left over then? 195. So that's 65. And what's the label for 65 degrees? Achieved. Okay. And 195 is what? Merit. Okay, guys, that's it. That's how you do them. Do you remember doing them in junior cert? No. No. All right. Have you done them before? We'll do them after the mock. We'll do more of them, all right? That's how you do a pie chart. Okay, let's move on. This is the one we're doing yesterday, right? So, for those of you that weren't in yesterday, there's something that you need to know, which is called the empirical rule, okay? Empirical rule is your mean is 100, okay? Now, when you go one standard deviation to the left and one standard deviation to the right, this captures 68% of all people. When you go two standard deviations to the left and two standard deviations to the right, you capture 95% of all people. It's known as the empirical rule, which is right here. Okay? If you Google empirical rule, it will give you a diagram with all this information on it. Okay? Now, what does it want me to do? It says the standard deviation is 20, doesn't it? So what happens when you're one standard deviation away? 100 take away 20? 80. 100 plus 20? How many people are in between 80 and 120? 68%. Is that all right? You either have that learned off by heart or you don't. Okay, what's the next part then? The top 2.5% of scores were given the grade of exceptional. What was the smallest score needed to get this grade? Okay, now this is a bit of a question that we did the other day, wasn't it? I'm just going to get rid of this score here. Okay, oh, sorry, I'll leave it. Okay, because here's what I'm asking you now. What's two standard deviations away? 100, 80, 60. 80, 100, 120, and okay, now look at this. Okay, now for those of you that weren't in yesterday, two standard deviations below and two standard deviations above. In between those two scores is what percentage of all people? 95% of everybody is in between those two scores. Okay, now here's the catch. If I shade in this region here, how many people are in the shaded region that I just shaded in? 95% of all people are located in this scoring range here. See these two little green parts here and here? What do the two of them have to add up to? Why did they have to add up to 5%? To have 100%. So would you recommend that that's 2.5%? And this part here is also 2.5%. So they everybody agree that the top 2.5% are located here. So what's the score you need to get into that 2.5%? 140. So everybody happy with 140? That's your top 2.5%. Okay. That was a tricky one. Did you get that one now? Fair play. Right. All good? Okay. So this is still question 4. And that's it. Well, that's that one there. Okay. All right, lads. We're going to do standard deviation for those of you that are out. Right. 2 things we're going to need. Range is easy. Can anybody tell me what the range is? The highest minus lowest, yeah? So what's a 113 take away? 82, and what you get? 31. All right. Now, standard deviation, you're going to need your calculator. Okay. And you're going to go menu. Anybody remember? Stat mode. Oh, so that's table mode. Menu, stat mode. How many variables is there? There's only one variable for this. Okay. Now let's put in our numbers. 104. 82. Nope. 94. Order only matters when you're doing the median and interquartile range, but we haven't done the interquartile range yet. Okay, skipped it. It's not coming up. Is that cool, you guys? What do I press next? Yeah, what Alex told me was apparently if I just press options, it works. But I've always pressed AC, and then I always just press options afterwards. What do I press? 3 would send me back into the data. So I go again. What the hell happened there? Let's try that again. Now I'm back to where I was. 2. What's the score I'm looking for? Which one is it? Yeah, none of you can read that, so I'm just going to grab it here, make it larger. Come on. Did that not work? Give it a second. There you go. You joker, yeah. Okay, just for those of you who have the new calculator, this here is the mean. This here is the standard deviation. They're the only 2 you're going to use. Is that all right? So what's the answer we're looking for? 9.76. What does the question say? To 1 decimal place or 1 decimal place? So 9.8. Yeah. Everybody cool with that? Anybody need help with the old calculator, or are we all good? Showed up the old calculator, yeah. All right, those of you of the Vintage Friday, what we'll do is you're going to be using this calculator, okay, and you're going to go mode, stats, 1 variable, and you're going to throw in your what's it called, your numbers. Okay, you press AC, you go shift, see the word stat in yellow? Stat, variable, and you pick which one you want. The only one you want is 2 or 3. 2 is the average, and 3 is the standard deviation. And long and behold, there's your 9.76. All good? Okay, so that's quick revisor of both calculators. Okay, let's move on. This one, 10 now, yeah? So what do we do? Questions 3, 4, and 10, all right? Now let's do this, all right? A survey was carried out to investigate the amount and type of exercise that adults in Ireland are taking in 2022. This survey was carried out on a sample of adults in Ireland. Write down one advantage and one disadvantage of carrying out a survey on a sample instead of a population. All right, advantage. It's cheaper and takes and quicker. Okay, that's sort of 2 reasons, but who cares, right? Next thing, disadvantage. It's not as accurate as surveying the entire population. All good? Isn't that a nice part A? Here's some marks for common sense. Okay. Now, B. A random sample of 1,500 people took part in the survey. Show that the margin of error is 0.26%. For those of you that were out yesterday, there's a formula for margin of error, and the formula is quite simply 1 over the square root of n. Is that okay with you guys? 1 over the square root of n. So you put the number of people you survey. What generally happens? The more people you survey, the more accurate your results. So the bigger this number gets, the smaller the margin of error. You throw that into your calculator and what you get. Yeah, I'm just going to go back into computer mode here. 1 over the square root of 1,500, and lo and behold, we get 0.026, all right? Lads, I thought I was expecting an answer of 2.6. Why isn't it 2.6? That's decimal mode. To turn decimal into percentage, what you need to do. Yeah, and there is your 2.6%. Okay. See the way they were nice? They gave you a prove question. Prove it's 2.6. Because a lot of people would have just left it and not known. Okay. So that was nice of them. Right. B part 2 now? Okay. Sorry, B part 2. 71% of the sample said they walked for recreation. Find the number of people from the sample who said they walked for recreation. How many people did we interview again? 1,500? And then what percentage of them into the calculator with it? Yeah. What's the percentage button on this one? Shift, but where's it actually located? Left bracket. Ah, yeah, there you are. 106.65. Okay. Good. Right. Let's keep going. Use the percentages given in B part 1 and B part 2 to write down the 95% confidence interval for the percentage of adults who walk for recreation. Now, lads, see this 71%. See this statistic here. This is meant to represent the entire country. Did I interview enough people to represent the entire country? No, I didn't. There's like whatever, 4 or 5 million people in the country. I only interviewed 1,500. It means that this 71% isn't exactly accurate, right? What did we find out our margin of error was earlier? Yeah. So here's the deal. You get 71% and you add and subtract 2.6%. And this will give you your average. Is that okay? Now, it's an average, isn't it? So it'd be the no, it's P. Sorry, my fault. We use P. Okay. So what's 71 take away 2.6? Yeah, and 71 plus 2.6? Yeah. They laid that out much nicer, didn't they? Than the questions in the book. It was step by step, which is quite nice of them, all right? So let's keep going. So what this means is that we're 95% sure. See the word 95% confidence interval? We're 95% certain that somewhere in between 68.4% all the way up to 73.6% of adults walk for recreation. Does that make sense? We're 95% certain the answer is somewhere in there. Cool with that? All right. Okay. Now, according to the 2019 Irish Sport Report, 65% of adults in Ireland walked for recreation. Carry out what's known as a hypothesis test. Do you know what 5% level of significance means? You don't really need to know it, but what it does mean is that it's the 95% confidence interval is what you're going to use. Is that all right? To find out this figure of 65% has changed, all right? So, here's what we're going to write. H0. What's the null hypothesis, lads? 65% of adults in Ireland walked for recreation. Is that okay? What's H1, the alternate hypothesis? Anybody tell me? No, what you write is the percentage of adults. I hate the language on this stuff, but the percentage of adults that walk for recreation in Ireland that walk for recreation is not 65%. Does that make sense? Now, the next thing we're going to ask is, was 65% in our confidence interval? So that answer to your last question, was 65%, sorry, where'd it go? Was 65% in this range? That makes sense? So you're right for your conclusion then? Sorry about this, I know I'm jumping around a bit on you. Right? 65% is 65% is not in the confidence interval. So what do we say? We reject the null hypothesis. So we reject the notion that 65% of adults in Ireland walk for recreation. Okay? If you're really confused with this stuff, I recorded a video on it yesterday that will be uploaded today. Okay? Principles were rejected. So we reject the null hypothesis. Okay? Now, yeah. So what we say is we reject it. Okay? Now, if I'm being honest, see the way that this question's worded? I think they left it a bit more open-ended, that you actually didn't have to use the language this time, right? So I think in normal past papers you have to use the language, but I think this time they left it more flexible, so more accessible. I mean, that you could just use your language to answer it rather than the language I just used. So what'd be a good way of answering it? If you couldn't remember all that, what's a good way of answering it? Conclusion. Okay. Conclusion. The percentage of adults that walk for recreation is not 65. Everybody see that answer? It's a bit simpler than the last one, isn't it? Okay, and what else could I do? What'd be the reason? Anybody tell me? 65% was not in the confidence interval. It does not lie in between. What were the two numbers for that answer we got previously? I have no idea where the percentage button is. And what? 70? I think this answer is more accessible, isn't it? Less wordy. And you notice in the question they didn't say anything about null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis, did they? They didn't mention that we had to use it. So in this case, I would use the second version of my answer, not the first version that we learned yesterday. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Move on. Right. Is there anything else left here? Assume 20% of adults in are jog for recreation. 3 adults are picked at random. Find the probability that one of these adults goes jogging for recreation. Ooh, this is tough. Yeah, it's a probability question. This type isn't. I'll quickly do it. Right? Ready for this? Would you agree that there's a 1 in 5 chance or 20% chance that if I pick you at random, you either jog, you have a 1 in 5 chance you jog. Does that make sense? Now, I pick 3 of you at random, and here's what happens. Exactly 1 adult, yeah? So, jog, no jog, no jog. This means the first person jogs, the second person I ask doesn't jog, and the third person I ask doesn't jog either. What other way could that happen? No jog, jog, no jog. Does everybody see what I did there? First person doesn't jog, second person jogs, third person doesn't. What's the other variety of that? No jog, and jog. Get with that? Now, here's how we do it. If the first person jogs, that means I hit 1 in 5. That I got lucky. There's a 1 in 5 chance that happens. No jog would be how many people? 4 in and another. Exactly. Now, you can use your calculator to do this. No jog, lads. Jog and no jog. Yeah. And then the last one. Yeah. 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 Right. In my head, that's 48 out of 125. Okay. Cool. Once again, don't worry about that one. I'm just doing it for completion's sake, okay? Don't worry about it. All right. This one. Did I give you this? No, you don't have to do that. You're okay. You don't have to do that. All right. So is that the end of question? So question 10 doesn't stop at C. It stops at D and E, does it? All right. Done. We won't go any